Welcome back to GCTV and welcome back from what seemed to be a cold and windy New York on Governor's Island as we look back on stage 14 of the Global Champions League that had a dramatically brilliant performance from the Prague Lions and new championship leaders. We will unpack it all for you here on this week's show of The Insider. Frederik de Backer is back. Missing action once again. Did you deactivate your Instagram, or did you just throw your phone away for the weekend? What was the strategy there?
Well, I missed a lot of the show jumping. I literally missed it, physically missed it. But it got annoying when I opened Instagram and when I saw every rider's Instagram account being flooded, stories and posts with...
You wanted a dislike button, hey? Dislike, dislike, dislike.
Oh, leave me alone. It's always... So yes, I only opened it this morning, again on Monday morning, and I thought, after 24 hours, the stories are gone. They've traveled back to Europe or to wherever they had to go. And I don't see the Statue of Liberty for the...
On every single post. All right, so you are back on Instagram. Most of the riders are making their way back from stateside. And now we'll have a couple of weeks off before we get to Riyadh. And of course, we'll unpack all of that for you in the upcoming weeks. But shall we talk about the sport quickly? An overall summary from you. You stayed off social media, but now you've had a chance to digest the sport very briefly. Give me a bit of a summary, wrap up how you thought the sport went over the weekend.
Very interesting. Very interesting how things turn out with the expectations that you go to New York, what happens after round one, how it plays out for round two, after round two, and then how it plays out going into the final in 4 weeks' time in Riyadh. The season has taken many shapes and forms. We've had teams on a high and team on a low, and things have gone back and forth, but nobody could predict how it's looking now going into Riyadh. All
right, well, an excellent weekend for the Prague Lions they will look at in a moment. But, of course, that impacts the top four and how things look. Lots of shake-ups happening and still lots of potential over the next couple of weekends. And, ironically, it was after Rome that Frederik suggested that there were new threats coming from the Global Champions League. Let's remind you what the table looked like at the end of Rome in the previous stage. Because Frederik de Backer will talk about how this has changed. But talk to us about those particular threats that you were mentioning after Rome. Who were those threats that we were told to look out for after this stage?
Well, if you look at it, London Knights won in Rome, jumped into fifth. Paris Panthers hot on their heels, and the same for Valkenswaard United. So those three teams in fifth, sixth and seventh were the real rivals for that top four position, especially London Knights with their first win of the season after having a very okay season. It's of course not the same London Knights team as before, that were two-time winners of the championship. We spoke about that a lot already. But it was their third podium finish, their first win of the season, and then they got within touching distance of top four.
And we thought, here it comes.
Yeah, there they were.
All right, well, again, the irony is those Rome threats then hold up after round one of New York this weekend. We'll show you what it looked like at the end of round one. These were the standings going into Super Saturday at the end of it. And instead of those potential threats that we had highlighted of the London Knights and Paris Panthers, who actually did not feature as expected, instead it was the Prague Lions, Valkenswaard United and Madrid in Motion that were all knocking on the door, to be fair as well. Miami Celtics had a really, really good performance. But the weekend will be remembered for the Prague Lions, for the performance that they put in. Let's show you just how exactly the Prague Lions have now firmly inserted themselves inside the top four by doing so, going on to win in New York.
We are live from Governor's Island. It is time for round one. Peter de Vos and NASCAR will certainly have something to say. Not going for a quick round, he's going for a clear round, and he's absolutely nailed it. It is Niels Bruynseels. This could make it 3 teams on a 0 score, going through to round 2 as the Prague Lions jump the clear as the last to go.
We know what to do, stay clear, but today it's another day and we have to fight again.
It is the turn of the Prague Lions. Peter de Vos is going to be the first to jump a double clear. First rider to put a 0 on the card of both days here. Next up, Niels Bruynseels. 1 fence left to go. Will this be the double clear? Prague Lions in unbelievable form here in New York. They will stand on top of the podium.
It's that smile on the face of Anna Kelnerova that really tells the story for me. Prague Lions sensationally now locking down a GCL Super Cup semi-final spot, guaranteed to finish inside the top 4, peaking at the right time. I get the feeling that if there were 3 or 4 more events this year, we could be talking about championship contenders, because these boys are hitting the right notes at the right time. Frederick, what a way to end the season.
That's a very strong statement, because if you remember, we came out of the last Insiders saying, wow, London Knights, Valkenswaard, Paris Panthers in better form, Prague Lions now with a very small gap. They've got a good season. Are they going to lose it at the second last stage? Because they were with a very weak team. You know, they had the unfortunate passing of one of the top horses of Sergio Moya. His other horses not in top form. Same with Van Pasen, Kelnerova not in all the conference. So again, it came down to those Belgian boys. Those Belgian boys needed the approval of the national federation to go and compete in New York, because they had the Belgian championships at the same weekend. So they went there. The fact that they had to go shows the lack of depth of that team, or the weakness of that team at that moment. On the other hand, you can turn it around and say, when those boys go, Bruinskens and De Vos,